So, hi and welcome everyone. I've sent a zip file in the Discord channel, browser-based MMO game, which will, once you have downloaded it, I can just show you that. Just click on here. It will open it and or it should download it. Yeah, here we go. It downloads it. And then, at least on my PC, when I click on it, it jumps to the place where it is and extracts it. And from here, when you open this index.html in your browser, it should look like this. And if you then, in parallel, open Visual Studio Code and open the folder, then it should look like this, which I have to my left. If you have, I hope you can get that all open. Cinder seems to have problems opening the index file. What you can also do is when you have your browser open and you have your the place where you have the file, you can just drag and drop the file into your browser and then it will open it. And everyone who opens that one will also create a figure on this scene here, which is quite interesting, I think, to have this already working. I will explain you a bit about the code that are already used. A couple of you are already starting to jump. I think this, I think some of you were already around at an Easter camp where we had something related like this, where we implemented the jump and turning around and everything like that. We will basically kind of do the same this time as well. Yes. The first thing I want you to do, if you find all this annoying, let me just split this one. No, not yet. You can go to the script.js file, comment out the second line, means adding 2 slashes at the beginning of the line, and then remove the 2 slashes from the first line, which makes this one active. Save it, and when you then reload the website, then if everyone reloads it, they are gone from the map, but the others are still around. How do we not have the others around?
I think you have the wrong folder open in your browser.
That could be with me. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. This is how it should look like. If I switch it back, reload. Oh, now I only have one. Yes. What I had open was basically the result, the result of the end of today. This will look like this one here. And now when I press the A key, you will see my person moving. When I press the W key, it will jump. When I press the D, it will turn to the other side. And when I press E, I can shoot. The people I shot will now, on their machine, move up into the air and then come back down again. So that is what I have in mind for today, at a time frame of about 2 hours. I've already created quite a bit of a boiler template. So there's, yeah, now it moved. There's already a bit of it happening on the scene here, which I will quickly explain. Please write on the Discord if you do not have the state that I have currently. So at first, I want to go with you into the index.html file. In the index.html file, you will see that it looks like yesterday we were only talking about the things inside the body, which is also what I will keep to this time. There are some people still busy opening the file. Let's wait a second for them. Well, let me really quick show how I did it with Visual Studio Code. Maybe that is where many are off. Yeah, let me quickly show that. If you open Visual Studio, At me, it looks a bit like that. Yeah. And then you can, in that application here, go on Open Folder. Select the folder you want. Here, for example, the camp shooter, which I already extracted here. Click on Open. And then it should bring you to something that is similar to what I have. You can, if you don't like having this around, you can fold it in. So it gives you a bit more space, which is especially interesting for me because I have the browser right next to it, so you can see it all. Did this clear it up? Axel is still on it. For the others, it's all working, I guess then. Let me help you. Yeah, the moving of the characters and all that stuff is are things that we will be programming now. So until now, you should, if you open the script I sent you, you should only see it like this. Like now, none of the characters do anything. The other things which I showed before, that was the finished thing that we will have by the end of this talk. Otherwise, I think we have to move on. Or quite some having issues and are around with Axel now. Axel and Lawrence. Yep. Otherwise, I will already explain a bit of what I gave you in this package. I already gave you the full index HTML, which you will need to finish this game. We don't have to touch anything here. If you want a bit more details on what we did here, I can roughly go through them. You have here, this is what you currently see on the screen, which is your character. Don't be confused by all these curly braces and stuff that is written in there. This is stuff that is related to a framework called Vue. If you want to read up on it, you're highly encouraged to do so. Vue helps me to update what you have visually here, and will always set values from my variables I have in JavaScript over into HTML. I will show you, or you will see in a minute what that means. Here you will have the enemies. It will create a new element for every enemy. And here you have the bullets that will be flying around, all that we will soon program in JavaScript. The hero already has quite some animations configured onto himself. If you want, you can just open the website and check out the animations yourself. He currently has a class to left. If you remove this class, I deleted the R as well, character, you will see that he looks to the right. So to left switches him over to the other side. If you now add a class that is called running, or now the class was called isRunning, you will see that he already has the animation for running. So this is also something that we went on yesterday in the tutorial there. And then you have the class is shooting, where he is standing still, staying still. And then you have the class left, dead, which when he gets it, he floats up in the air and disappears. All these things you will soon see in action once we will program our game. If you go to the styles.css, you can see how we wrote all these styles. Here you have the rules for how a character looks like. You have how the animation is done when he is dead, how the running part is animated, the shooting. Wait a second. The shooting part, we turn him around when he should be facing left, and we have a bit of styling for this health numbers up there. Yeah, this is a bit for introduction what we have at the HTML and at the CSS side. Now at the JavaScript side, it gets a bit, it might get a bit messy and overwhelming if you look over through the whole thing. But we will just concentrate on 2-3 small places here, which I hope will give you then during this talk an idea of how you think while programming, and also how you have to interact and tweak values, think about edge cases, and these kind of things. I've already written quite a bunch of boilerplate code around it, which you don't have to care for this talk. One of this thing is, for example, what we up here call with a socket. This one you can think of as the technology is called WebSockets, and it can send a message to a server. And this server, which is currently running on this address here, just takes the message you're sending him and will send it on to everyone else who is also on the same server. So if you now, for example, send him a message that your position, that your character is on this position, it will send it on to everyone else, and everyone else can then put your character on the same position. So they will also see you. And if you walk left, that will also send a message to the server. The others will receive it and can then move your character on their screen. This is all boilerplate code which I already wrote for you. So once we are done, or also throughout the course, you can always switch from this line over to the server where everyone else is on, and then you will see how their character will behave on your screen. I personally will only take this localhost thing here, which means it will be only me on the scene. Let me just check out one thing. For some reason, yeah. There's one thing. Yeah, anyways, comes later. Yeah. Let's start. Or is anyone still stuck and needs some assistance? Then please write in the channels now.
If anyone needs assistance, you can join me at Assistance 2 room on Discord.
But otherwise, I start. Yeah. The first thing I would implement is our character currently does not move. So if I press A or if I press D, the character should move to the left or to the right. If you scroll all the way down in the script, there is in line 166, I've written a comment that is called document listeners. And in here you will see that there are several functions which I gave you as a boilerplate code, which react on key up when you key down. Key down is when you press a key down. Key up is when you lift your finger. And that one is not important for now. So let's concentrate on these two. In the key down, we check here which key was pressed. Was it the key W? Was it the key A? Was it the key D or the key E? On key W, I check if the game.hero, which is my current player, that one has a bottom position, like like the lowest point of this character here is always stored, is always accessible in this variable. If this is equal to the bottom ground, which is a line which you can think about should be here, right? If he is on that line and you press the key W, then the vertical speed of the player, vertically means going up and down, vertical speed of the player will be increased by 5, which doesn't do anything. We will write some logic who lets him jump soon. And then on key A, there is a function called go left. And on key D, there is a function called go right. You can now, if you hold down the control, or I think on Windows, it's the Alt key, you will then see that this function gets an underline if you hold the key down and hover over it. If you now click on it, you can quickly jump to that function. I could now also scroll to it because it's just right up here. But for convenience, I also wanted to show you this, then that you can click to it and it then jumps to that position where it is. I personally could now go here and let's do that one. We can now, on the go left, we can write that we want to move our player to the left. Let's say this is then, if you scroll a bit, now the split screen comes in handy. View. Split down. So now you can see two sections of the same file. So here was the position. Here's the code that is called when you press key A, right? It calls the function to left and it sends the data over to the server that you press left. So this to go left is up here. We give it the game.hero. So this character here now is our hero object. Hero has the same structure as a character, and everything you see here with this are variables that are part of that are variables on a character that you can change. And as soon as you change them, the UI will update. So if we now change our character, which in this case, which we are thinking through now, is our hero. If we take that left and increase this value, in order to increase a value, you can take plus equal. You want to get the value and add a certain number to it. I now want to add 50 to it. So plus equal 50. This line will increase my left value by 50. If I save that one, reload it on the game, and I press now the A key, always when I press A, it will move to the, no, that was an increasing value goes to the right. So I have to take minus equal because I want to take that value down. So if I now do it, we see that I jump, right? But when I hold the key, looks a bit weird. If I take that down to, let's say, 5. It looks like this. And when I release it, the player stops. Something that I've previously done and also like doing is that you always that you always give the player a speed, right? That you don't interfere directly with his position, but you rather give him a speed and then have a part of your program which acts like a physics engine. So so if the player has a speed, he will be moving. And here is already where I prepared for this. So you have a vertical speed and a horizontal speed. For example, when jumping, the player should have a vertical speed assigned, which kicks him off the ground, and then our physics function should let him go up, but then also come down again. This is something that like this thinking of having an engine doing the work instead of doing it directly. This is something that I also will bring in here, which is also why I prepared the variables vertical speed and horizontal speed for every character. So instead of manipulating left here directly, we say that we have horizontal speed. We set that speed to 1. Save it. Now it should not do anything because I didn't define anything about speed. And now a bit, let's take it on this one here. Now you can jump to a function that is called update view. Should be on line 88. This is a function which will be called on every frame. So if you think about a game runs usually at 60 frames per second, right? And this is also what this function here will do. And now in order to do a bit of a physics, we can go in here. So it looks like that. Here we are creating a list that contains all characters, my hero, and all the enemies. The enemies will come a bit later. And for every one of them, I will do something. And if now this character in this physics function, which I have here, I want to apply the speed directly to the character, so the character is now moving per second. This comes very handy in if I, for example, want the person to glide, right? Like if the person now would have been on ice and he releases the key, this physics engine will keep track of that he still glides on even though he released the key. This is a benefit against directly manipulating the left property here. So we can manipulate it in our physics engine and call here a dot. Where did I write it? A dot left should be character dot h speed. And here we can also use the auto completion the same way we used it in the online editor before. So if I now write shp, the computer already knows that somewhere in my program I have a h speed variable, so it will give me that for auto completion. So I can now, in this program here, I hit enter in order to use it. And this is now a function that will be applied on every frame. So every frame where I have a horizontal, where my player has a horizontal speed, it will be moved by that speed. And now we can in the future also deal a bit with the speed. Just take the speed down, take the speed up on certain occasions, and our physics function, which in this case is update view, will always update our character accordingly. So if you now, let me reload, yeah. Same mistake here. I have to take minus. No, wait a second. The speed is wrong. The speed should be -1. So a speed of -1 moves you to the left. A positive speed will move you to the right. Horizontal speed. So saving that, reloading it, should bring us here. But now when we release the key, the player still runs on. And this is because the player still has the speed, right? Here at a key up event for the characters A and D, A is for going left and D is for going right, we call a function stop running. So in the stop running, which is up here, we have to take our speed down again. Character.h speed equals 0. So then you should stop. Reloading. I want him to be not all the way to the right, to the left. Releasing it would stop him. Pressing it, he runs. Releasing it, he stops immediately. So that is a bit how we want it. Just that he is looking to the wrong side when he runs. And that is due to a property which we have on the player. You remember that there was this class which we can put on our character, elements, character, which is called to left, right? If we remove this class, he looks to the right. And if he has this class to left, he is looking to the left. Now I coupled the existence of this class to a variable that each character has, and this variable is called to left. So we can now set this variable to true or to false if we want the character to get this class in his HTML. All this linking now that he automatically gets the class, this is part of view. Some things we are using here. So if we press left, we want to change this variable of that character to left to true. Means now when we reload and he was looking to the right, we press A. It is not working. Yeah, now it's working. Yeah, and now he runs. When I release it, it stops. And when he is already left, he still continues running to the left. So next step is going to the right, which we already have a key down event on. Key down. If the key is D, the function go right is called. And now I will give you a minute to write something that should go here in that go right function, and then compare it to what I'll be doing. I think that shouldn't be all too different. Rudumify has the problem, the player isn't showing up on mine. If you have that problem, then load the website and check out on the console. These error connection refused, they are quite normal at the moment at my place. But if you see something else, there might be a typing issue you have somewhere, or that you, for example, mistyped a variable or so. So let me release it, reveal it, what you need to do. Also here, we are getting the character who should move. So we can here go on character, and we also want to change the horizontal speed. And this time, the speed should be positive, which will make you go to the right. Which seems like it looks good until you hit left and then right again, because now he doesn't turn. So we also here have to keep in mind, maybe some of you have had that in quotes edge case. So maybe some had that already in mind. You also have to when you're moving right, make sure that to left is false. And if you have that, I think you're good in moving. Moving to the left, moving to the right. Right again, left again. Now it should look like this. So we have a bit of a physics engine, which can, based on the speed, move our player. But two things we still have. We can still run out of screen, and then come back in again.
Simon?
Yeah.
Could you please share the script.js on Discord, because we were, so that the CMU could align with the changes you made?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
We had the issue with Visual Studio, now it works, so.
Perfect. That's good.
Did you make any changes in styles CSS?
Now style CSS and the style CSS and the other and the HTML file will remain unchanged throughout the full course.
Cool.
It's just this one, the JavaScript file, which we will be modifying.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Here you go. There it is. This already contains for moving left and moving right. The character will also turn the appropriate way. But something we now have is that you can run out of screen. It might happen in like when I now program something, I usually not always think about every edge case. So sometimes this is something that I discover way later, when a user is coming back to me and says, "Hey, in your game you can actually run out of the screen. Did you know that?" And then you, as a programmer, are like, "Oh, I should have thought about that." So this is something that I can now tell you because I already got that feedback. I personally then ask myself, who is responsible for keeping the player in scene? To me personally, that would now be the physics engine or our physics function, which we called update. Where was it? here in line 88. This function, where we change the left position of a player, this one should also keep us within our boundaries, right? And that one is pretty easily done. If you already have a bit of programming experience, I think you can just go ahead and add the boundaries for left and right. I think that is a good task to get a bit started. And then I will show how it's done in 1 or 2 minutes.
Halo, halo? Sorry, na chwilę miałem coś złego, ale teraz już słyszycie, tak?
Yes. Let me reveal it. Or if you haven't finished, just continue and then take a look at how I did it and compare it to yours. The first thing that we need is first I want to check if this or make sure that this player cannot go out at the left side, which might be the easier one. Our left position here is, if you see this box, it is the top right of this box. So making sure that this left can never go below 0 will already keep us in at the left side. So to make that, we can just write a condition. Conditions are written with if, then comes the condition itself. If the character dot left, which was computed here, is less than 0, if the player, after updating this variable, would be outside the screen, set the character dot left to 0. And this will always keep him in the screen, because if this one would compute to a value that is below 0, it will set it to 0 again. Zack, zack, zack. Saving that one. Should keep him in on the left side. May I get a random value? By the way, when you reload, the player is always positioned at a random place. So if you want him positioned differently, just reload and the random value might end up closer to where you want. So going left from here, we see that he now seems to be stuck at the left side. We can still run out on the right side. Do I get him a bit closer? Yeah. Anyways, yeah, he can still run out there. For that, I need the full width of this container. which is 808 pixel. You can see that at the top there. And we need, if I not, yeah. And we also need, since left is the upper left position of that container, we also need the width of my player and subtract it from this 808. So you can take this is a quick calculator. We can take the 808 and subtract the width of our container, which is 45. That means 763 is the highest value that our left should be able to go. Taking that value, we can now write our second if condition. If character.left is greater than this, keep it there. Yeah. Yeah, width of 45 is 808. Then it cuts off a bit of the screen here. Yeah, it's actually a bit wider than my screen. So we got our player moving around. And if now everyone changes these two values at the top of your script file, you should also see each other moving around. So if you change that, reload it, then we should soon see a ton of other people in here. You first have to click a character, and then you can move around. And down here in the console, I can now see every update I receive from you guys. Because you're constantly updating your position, right? So I will get an update from everyone for everything. This is a ton for the computer to process. That's also why this one is a bit slower than if you run it the other way. Let's return to that one. Zack. Yes. Next level. I would go for shooting. Let's implement the shoot. Here at the key down, we already have a case when you press the key E, which is right above your D, where I call a method called shoot. Here you cannot do a command click on it, so you have to find it in the code. That is because Visual Studio Code cannot find out where we wrote this method. This is in line 85. Here's the shoot method, and then you get the character, the person who shot. So what we when you shoot, you need a bullet, or that we want a bullet to appear on scene, right? So this we do as following. Scrolling a bit in the second script here. In our line 50, we define some data that we have available for our full scene. Here is, for example, the headline, which is visible here. If you want to change that one, you can just change it, save it, and then it's different. On the other side, you also have the hero, which is a new character, which is what you see here. We have a list of enemies, and we also have a list of bullets. So here to this list of bullets, we will now, when you press E, we will add a new bullet. Bullet is also, like the character here, bullet is also a class, which you can see a bit further up. Here's the definition of the class bullet. The bullet has a left, a bottom, and wait, this should be a horizontal speed. Okay, I can fix that up when we write it later. Or vertical speed. Let me think about it. Yeah. And then I need to know if the bullet was fired to the left or not to the left, which means it was fired to the right. In order to implement shoot here, you can write, where do we have it? Here we have it. This dot bullets, which is the list of bullets which we saw earlier down here. This list should now get a new item. A new item is added by the function push. We want to push a new item into a list. And the item we want to push in there is a new bullet.
3 p.m. and 5 p.m.
New bullet, opening, closing parentheses. And the bullet, as you see here, when constructing it, that is what we are doing here. When we write new bullet, we create a new bullet. In programming terms, we call it constructing. And then you can see in a function called constructor, you can see what values you can give it when you create it. So this one here, when I write new bullet, if I now remove the opening and closing parentheses and add them again, you will see a description up here that it expects an X, a Y, a left, and an ID. Why actually an ID? I don't use it. Let me remove that one. There was a bit from an older version. So we need an X position, a Y position, and we need a to left if we are firing it to the left or to the right. To make it easy, I just take the, to make it easy for now, I just take the, for X, I take the character's left position. Let me save that one, create a new variable, which we call X. Oh, sorry. The equal sign comes after the X. And this variable should be equal to the character dot left position. Give this X as the first value to the bullet. And do the same for the Y. And the Y, in this case, we set to, on a character, we have the value, the only vertical value which we have on the character is bottom, which is the lowest position here, right? So our X, the place where the bullet should appear, should be our character bottom. Let's take that for the first now. Character bottom, just like this, and give it as the second argument in here. Save that one. And let's see how the bullets appear when we press E. You see, we are now, it looks like mines, which we're putting on the ground. So instead of having it at the ground, I want a bit further up. So now comes a bit of measuring. At which position is the pistol related to the bottom of the player? In my previous version, I found out that it is about 50 pixel. So in here in our shoot method, we can add 50 to the bottom. And now if we press E, might be a bit high. Let's take 45. Ah, that was, yeah, that's about the place I wanted to be. Now it's exactly at the front of the pistol. But when I now go to the right and I shoot, the bullet should not be here, but the bullet should be here where my gun is, right? So now I have to check if my player is now to the left or to the right and give the bullet a different starting position based on that. When my player is on the left, the position is okay. But if my player is on the right, so if my player is not looking to the left, means he is looking to the right, then we want to increase X. So X should increase by the width of our player. So that the bullet doesn't start here, but it starts here when the player is not looking to the left. Means he is looking to the right. The value I started off with was 50. Let's see if that is good. Like when here the inspector is always useful for that kind of stuff. On elements, you see the hero here, and you can see that our player has a width of 45 pixel. So I added 5 pixel in addition in order to have the bullet a bit in front of the gun. Wait, sorry. So if you now press E here, yeah, that one is a bit in front of the gun. And if I now turn to the other direction and shoot, is actually at the gun. That would also be nice to be a bit different. Oh, did I add an A there? Sorry, that was not the intention. If I now take this one down by 8, let's see if the bullet is then in a good position if I'm turned to the left. Yeah, that's approximately a good position. If I now turn to the right, I think it's a bit further in. Yeah, let's add the 8 here. Because we subtracted it, so it will be 8 less when it arrives here to our previous version, right? So if I now hit E, that is a bit too far. Let's try 4. That looks good. That looks good. I like that one. One thing we also have is a bullet also has the property to left. So if we now pick that bullet over here, we also can add the class to left, which will turn it around. So that one looks a bit better when it is left, right? So the bullet should receive the same to left value as our player has. So that the bullet is always turning in the same into the same direction that our player is. Saving that one, reloading it, pressing E, turning around, pressing. That didn't work. That didn't work. Give me a second to check that out. I think this is a problem within our HTML website. Yes, I see it. I'll send you a new version of the HTML website, or you can also quickly follow up in our index HTML. Scroll a bit down to the place where we had the bullets. And in between here, you have to add colon class. We have here some classes that this element always will have. The writing it this way means that Vue, our framework which we are using, can dynamically add and change classes. And we want to change and dynamically add a class which is called toLeft. No worries if you cannot follow up here. I will send that quickly in the chat, the new index HTML. Writing and opening and closing curly parentheses, and within there write toLeft colon space bullet dot toLeft. Means the class toLeft should be added when the bullet's value toLeft is true. This is kind of the binding that I do here. I connect the class to the property I have in my code. I will send you this one in a second. HTML, or I just sent you the file. Let me send you the file. And now if you reload, the bullet should also turn into the right direction. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. That was a quick mistake there. Let me get that right. Yes. So if you couldn't follow up, the index HTML is on the channel now. Just download it and replace it by the one you have, and you will have the same result as we have here. So now our bullets will also turn, but they do not travel. Like they should now also move over the screen. And this we can do in our physics function again, or in our update view function. This one is right below our shoot function. That is quite convenient. Wasn't planned this way, but and in here we now want every bullet to travel, right? So we can make use of this. So we can directly access this list, this bullets, and a list in JavaScript has a few functions, and one of them is for each. For each is a function which you can give a function which should be executed for every single item. So for every bullet, we want to take this bullet, take it in opening in round parentheses, write an equal greater than sign, then the curly braces. Oh, maybe I should disable that. I have a let me quickly Google that. How is that font called? Is it Vierer code? Give me a second. The thing is, I have a special font here in my editor, which is called Vierer code. Just so you're not confused. I don't know how to quickly disable that one. But this font takes an equal sign and a less than sign and visually combines it. So that might look a bit weird to you. It might look different from how you have it. I can post this font in the code if you want a quick look at it. It is basically just something visual, and I don't know quickly how to disable it. So please bear with me on that one. I hope that doesn't confuse you all too much. To go on with what we wanted to do is we wanted to move the bullet, right? So the bullet can now we can now move the bullet by changing the bullet's left property. Left is the exact position where the bullet is currently. So if we increase it, the bullet will move to the right. And if we decrease it, the bullet will move to the left. For each of these bullets, we can now take the bullet dot left. Let's just, for a visual experience, we can just add it by 10, right? So every bullet which I now will have on screen. Oh, I wrote something wrong that you can see by this one here. And I guess it is a semicolon that I missed here. Sometimes the system is a bit forgiving, so if you don't do it exactly correct, it is still okay with it and can figure out what you wanted to say. But sometimes you have to be really strict in what you say because it also could mean something different. And this is one of the cases where it also could be misinterpreted. So here we go. Fixed our bug. If we now shoot, it will always run to the left, to the right, sorry. And the next task for you is to let it move to either the left or the right, depending on how you, on the bullet's to left position or to left property. Can you send an updated version of the script? Yes, let me do that quickly. I think this is. Yeah, I think that's it. Here you go. So if you are not there yet, let me help you. If the bullet itself has a to left, right? Which we set initially when we created that bullet. So we can now access it and based on that decide, because this one here is our indicator if it was shot to the left side or not, which means to the right. So we can now, based on here, decide on how we move it. Wait, that was not the intention. I can now move this line into this if condition. So if it was shot to the left, I want the bullet to travel to the left. And then else, in any other case, I want to travel it to this position. Reload it. And every time I shoot, it travels. Yes. To the left and also to the right. To be honest, now the position looks a bit too far off the starting position, which we created here in the shoot. So we'll just adjust that. I will take the 8 down and this one I will take to 45, the exact width of the character again. This is just a bit of, a bit of cosmetic work, but sometimes also that is necessary. Still looks, no, let's leave it. Leave it there. Leave it there. The left and that one. Yeah. Just 1 second. I need to update something here. Here we go. Yeah. Correct. That is good. That is good. In my original version, I also had it that when you from very far shot the bullet, it didn't go straight. So if you take this, reload it. If you hear from very far, okay. If I now shoot the bullet, You see that it goes down, right? Like minimal. but I will leave that one, that the bullet goes down. If you want to implement it, the bullet has a factor vertical speed. If you want to play a bit around with that, you can use that. Otherwise, I will drop that now for the time being and concentrate on that you actually also can get hit. This is the next thing I wanted to focus on. Because currently, when I go to my personal game here, the one we already wrote, if I now shoot, you see that this character here, this enemy which I added for you on the scene, cannot be hit, right? And neither can he lose health because he's never hit. So we now need our physics engine here to check on every bullet if it is close to a player. And that's where we need a bit of thinking around again. For some reason, give me a second. A bit of a problem with the coordination of some things here. Yeah, let's go ahead. Currently, if you take the screen a bit wider, there's also a different thing that we need to tackle. So if you take it a bit wider, let's take it like this, and you start shooting, your bullet actually also exists outside the screen, or outside our scene. Let's tackle that one. So for every bullet, the system should check if the left position of a bullet, after calculating the new position, is less than 0, then do the following. Take this dot bullets and remove an element. Removing is done by slice. Slice. This dot bullets dot index of bullet. This is a weird way of saying take the current one. Take the bullet which I currently have. And then take a comma 1. So this is an interesting way of here. I don't know. Manuel posted a more efficient version of it. I can actually here find out what index or which element in the list this current bullet is. That's true. So maybe the bullet the system is rendering is currently the 3rd, right? Then we can take the system and we can tell the system, I want to remove this 3rd. This function here can also remove multiple, but I only want to remove one item at this position. Reload. And now when pressing E, something is wrong. If the left position of the bullet. Leander asks if bullets.shift would also work. That is not always true because bullets.shift always removes the, was it the last or the first item? But you don't know which of the bullets now hit the border, right? Like bullets is just a list of every bullet that is on the scene. So if you fire 5 times, it could be that the wrong bullet is removed if you use shift. That is why I use slice to remove an individual one. But for some reason, this version doesn't work. Let me go back to the one I had. This dot bullets dot, okay, Manu, they say it works for them. Let me try that one again. Huh. What do we do different? Let's use the console.log to see if this one actually fired. It did. So the condition is correct. Only thing that doesn't work is the actual removal. There it's C. So there I see. I forgot an S. Splice is how the function should be called. And now it should also work. Yes. As soon as it comes, as soon as my bullet left position would be less than 0, it will remove it. I misspelled this function over here. So next challenge, do it for the other side as well. I think that should be an easy job for you. Yes. Connor said it correctly already on the group chat. We could now either use an else if and take the other condition, bullet.left if it is greater than, what was the value I had? 800. or I think 808 to be precise. Then we do exactly the same, but since I hate copying code, I can also say that if this condition, or by writing two of the vertical pipes, you can say the system to use a logical OR. Logical OR means that the left side or the right side or both can be true for the result to be true. So if left is less than 0, or bullet.left is greater than 808, then remove it. Reload it, and that one should now. It is a bit out of scene for you because I'm not sharing that part, but it should now also not go out of the right side. Maybe I should reduce that one to 800 again. Just a bit cosmetical things. Yeah, that looks good. That looks good. This is also a performance thing here at our side, because if we do not remove the bullet, it will always be rendered. So so on every frame that we render, we actually take CPU capacity for something that has no effect on our game, because the bullet is long off the screen. And there we should also think a bit about performance and keep that one out. Yes. To be on track for the next one. Yeah. And we can now take an else down here if it has not reached one of these boundaries. We have to check if it hit another player, right? And this I put into a function because we have to check that for our player and for every other player. So I created a new function here. So go a bit to at me, it's line 94. This is the end of the shoot function. Create a new function, and I called this one check if bullet hits character. You can call it whatever you want, just make sure you use the exact name when you want to call it. And this one gets a bullet and a character, opening, closing curly parentheses. In this case, we have to add a comma here. And this function will now take the calculation to check whether a bullet hit a character or not every time we call it. So we want to call that function for our player and for every other player. And that is what we now do in this else function. Copy the name of this function. And then we want to call this dot and take the function name. We want to call it first and foremost for our with the current bullet. As first argument, you have to give it the bullet, which we're currently dealing with. Bullet, yeah. And as character, you first give it the hero. This dot hero. You have to write in this context here. Semicolon. And you also want this to happen for every other enemy. In this case, object dot values. This is a bit of a weird way because I chose my modeling this way. You have to do it this way in order to get the list of enemies. And with a list, you can, or in the programming language, we call a list, we call it an array. right? So on an array, you always have the for each function. By the way, I can also show you that quickly. That is also described again in the documentation. Always keep the documentation close to you. Every array has a for each function. You can and this for each function gets a callback or a function to execute on each element, where you have each individual value, and also like Manuel showed me here earlier, you also get the index, which we had used for in this one use case, right? So the documentation is always a good piece to have very close to you when you write programs. And here we want to take the enemy, equal sign greater than, less than sign, curly braces. And then we want to call this function also for every enemy. Replace this one here with enemy. I'm sorry, I have to rush a bit here because I want to, because the implementing of the thing, of the hitting of the bullet will take a bit more logic. And I want to be finished in time. So just take this snippet as is for now. And then I will continue here on my second part with the function. Yes. So this function here will now be called on every frame for every pair of bullet and player. So for every bullet and player pair, we now have to check, are they close? No, then we do nothing. If they're close, we want the bullet to disappear and the player to lose health. A player has or a character has a health property. So taking that, we first start off with a condition where we want to check if those two things, the bullet and the character, are close to each other. And for that, I will use both of their left positions and compare them to each other. So if bullet.left, the left position of my bullet is, in order to make it a bit more visible, I'm gonna comment out the moving of the bullet. So a bullet will not move anymore. I think that makes it a bit more apparent and a bit better for explaining purposes. So if the left position of my bullet is greater than the character.left, if that is true, my character health should go down. Character.health minus equal, let's take 10. We go down in 10th. So when you save that one, you will always, when a bullet is further right than you, means the bullet's left position is greater than your player's left position. So the bullet is on the right side of you. You will lose health. But that should not, like if a bullet is further right than you, you will lose health. So if a bullet is now shot this way, you see that this enemy here loses health, but I don't. But if I go now this way, I will also lose health. Let's do the second check. If this one is true and the bullet dot left position is less than my, let me just quickly align that a bit different so I don't make one massive line. So if this is true and my character dot left plus 50. So I now want to only lose health if the bullet is within my player's position, right? So the bullet's left position should be greater than my current position, means it is somewhere over here, and it should be less than my left position plus 50. That means here. So it has to be within this range in order for the condition to be true. And only then I want to lose health. Let's try that one. I shoot. If I'm not at the position where the bullet is, I will not lose health. But as soon as I'm within the range of the bullet, I will lose health. Right? Let's make the bullet move again. Save it. Reload. If I now shoot, this person loses health. You see? Every time I hit it, but you also can see, which might be better when I move a bit away. No, it doesn't. You can see that the bullet moves through the player. If you're carefully looking at it, the bullet actually goes through the player. And it gives him 50 minus. So now every time when you're hit, you lose health, right? And every time you're hit, the bullet should also go away. So we can again take our fancy function, take our this dot bullets dot splice. In this case, we do not have the index, so we have to find it. This dot bullets dot index of bullet, comma 1. So in this way, we will now, when a bullet hit a player, the player will lose health and the bullet will disappear. Reloading it, moving a bit around, shooting, zack. Everyone came so far? Oh, sorry. I had another thing in front of the Discord. I can send you the result again. Yes. Scripts.js. Here we go. Yes, there it is. I promise to keep an eye on both of the chats again. Yes. And now you know that we had this class called dead. So if I add that one to a person, he shows that he is dead. And there is a function I have left on the player for you. So every character has the function to die. Means he is not alive anymore, which will add the dead class. And then he will come back after a few seconds. So this is the function that we will call, or in a few last minutes, I want to give you the task to write, to continue here, that if the health is less than 0, let the player die, or less than 1, actually. Or if it, yeah. So I think you have it by now, isn't it? It is basically writing an if condition where you check the character.health. If it is, you can also take less or equal 0, or then my system makes it a bit weird again. So you take the less than sign and the equal sign. If I write it, looks a bit weird here. Less or equal than 0, then our character should die. Saving that one, running it. Should give it to you like this. But what's actually interesting, and I will leave that stuff to you, if I now hit him, right? Now he is actually dead, but his health still goes down. And as the character is moving up, I can still shoot him. So the first thing that die does, it sets the character's property alive to false. So this is something I can easily check here. So if our character dot alive, if that is not given, then I can always just return from this function. Do not do anything more, just return. So now when my player is dead, I'm not able to shoot him anymore. Dies immediately, okay. Yes. That is a bit of a draft that I wanted to give you. I hope you enjoyed it so far. In the final script that I had, I also have things like jumping, and then you also have into account that when you jump, you also have to check the vertical position of the player when checking if he was hit for the bullet, and so on and so on. You can look that all up. I will send it to you in the chat. Yeah, you can check that code out, and otherwise you're welcome to join a party where we all play together. Let's see who get hit there again. Yes, I hope you enjoyed it. I'll unmute you all. Feel free to go or to leave or do whatever. That was it from me so far. Yeah, happy for having you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I hope it was not all too fast. like for the for the courses yesterday, I received the input that some things were a bit fast and rushed over. Yeah. Please also leave me some feedback for today's course. Such feedback is always very, very valuable, especially if you have something where you say that I should change this one for next time. That always helps a lot. Yes. Otherwise, the live stream starts in 5 minutes. I think I was in good time this time. So the package that I uploaded is a bit bigger than the other one I uploaded, and that is for the reason that I also included the server code. So in the package, let me just quickly move it in here to this workspace. I'm going to close this program. It is a bit too CPU intensive currently. Here in the server package is an app.js, which you can run, and then you have the server yourself and improve the game or play it with others or how you want it. Let me just quickly show you how to run that one. For running this one, you will need a program called Node. So when I change the directory to Camp Shooter, this is the place where I now am here on the left side. In here I have the server folder, and here I can run node space and an app.js. How you install Node on your computer and make it available on the command line is something that I encourage you to find out online. And when you hit enter on this command, it shows you open on localhost. And now I can set this this name into my scripts.js in here as the server. And then I'm playing on my own server. Feel also free to look into that code. It's all JavaScript. Yes, thanks a lot. And I hope you enjoyed it and it made you curious to check out more about JavaScript. There's a lot to dive in. And I needed quite a while to get comfortable in this area, but I hope you take that time, because I find that programming is something where you can have really fun with if you take the time to get comfortable with it. And to get comfortable, you just need training. Yep. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.